I would like to welcome everybody today to the Tuesday, October 22nd meeting, 2024, Village Board of Trustees. I'm Deputy Mayor Rick Lewitt. I'll be presiding. The mayor is currently in South Carolina, so he'll be joining us, but he will not be directing the meeting. I would like to open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Rick, as I mentioned, I would like to officially designate you as the organizer in conducting this meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Our first agenda item is a presentation from the Paychex Corporation on their proposal to help us with our payroll and HR. So, gentlemen, I'm going to throw it to you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear us?
Yep. Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen. I do not. Maybe I do. Let me know if you can see my screen, please.
Yes.
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 Yay, we got a winner. Well, it's a beautiful day in New York State, an unbelievably beautiful day, so thank you all for joining us today. What I'd like to do quickly is, due to the amount of time that we're allotted, is to get right into things. So our agenda today will be just a welcome and introductions. We're going to recap what we heard from you guys and what you shared. There's been a lot of work and due diligence that's been done up to this point to bring this presentation to the board today. We want to have any questions that you have for us answered before the time allotted runs out. And then we can talk about our implementation and requirements and gathering strategy together in next steps. I'd like to remind everybody that's present today that this meeting is for you. So feel free to interrupt us, ask questions. If you have a thought that needs to be shared with the group, we'd love to hear it. So with no further ado, welcome. Mayor Bassett, thank you for coordinating the meeting. Rick, thank you for overseeing the meeting today. We have our other board members in presence. I think Karen's in the room, who's worked diligently on this project and has shared probably some of the information with some of you guys. I wasn't sure if Chrissy was joining today's meeting or not, but she made it on the agenda. Is there anybody else that we're missing that we would like to welcome from the trustees' perspective, or anybody else that's here today, even from the public and the community?
I think we're ready to roll.
All right. So again, my name's Jimmy Toner. Thanks for taking the time. I've got 20 years of human capital management experience. I've been an owner in this business as well. I'm a licensed broker in the state of New York, and I've worked with many municipalities in the past. John, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. Jimmy and I are basically teammates. So I've been with Paychex since 2019 in various roles. And I have quite a bit of experience working within the company here, and looking forward to discussing what next steps could look like for the village.
Mr. Hands, are you out there?
Yes. Scott Hands. I'm a former HR business partner at Paychex, now working on the front end with the team here with our different levels of support and personal approach to each solution. Not only from a technology and an HR front, I'm here to help guide, educate, and again, address any questions anyone may have on our support model.
Okay, so with that, this is an eye chart for all of you. So I broke this out into separate slides, but we've done a lot of due diligence work to get to this point, and we heard many of your business needs. what the municipality needs, and what your future desired state is. The good news is that Paychex is a customizable, robust, flexible solution.
Jimmy, we're still seeing your PowerPoint and we're just seeing like your first slide. So
Yeah.
if you popped into presentation mode, we're not seeing that.
I'm sharing my screen, I'm in presentation mode. You're still on the Insights and Partnership?
Yeah, we're still on the first page and it's still showing sort of all of the PowerPoint background. So,
Do you need to go back to settings?
oh, you probably, it probably opened in a new window
Yeah.
when it switched to presentation mode.
How about that, guys? What if I do this?
Yeah, that's
That's
fine.
right,
fine.
that's perfect, thank you.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm out of presentation mode, but thank you for sharing. You missed 2 great slides. Well, here's our agenda. It's not like it's 78 degrees out, we all want to be outside. Okay, here we go. All right, we're gonna move forward. Here's our welcome slide. These are our happy pictures. This is your attendee list. This is the eye chart slide. So there are a lot of requirements that the municipality is requesting at this time. And the great news is that Paychex can meet and exceed all of these expectations. So because this is such an eye chart, and I don't know what screen you're looking at, I don't think anybody could probably see that. So what I did is I broke these out, and then we can come back to our proposed solution. So I'm not going to read this for you guys today. I just want to let you know that Mayor Bassett has shared with us exactly what you guys are looking for in a HCM partner, a human capital management partner. And I'd like you guys just to take a quick look at this one and the next slide to see if there's anything that's a call out.
I cannot read that slide, it's way too small for me.
Don't swing around.
I don't know. I can find yours.
Still too small, even though I made it much bigger. Sorry about that.
That's fine, we'll figure it out on this end.
All right.
Well, I can recap it for you. So we're looking for a smooth transition and basically less manual work. We're looking for a flexible and customizable HCM system. We're also looking for the ability to publish schedules in advance. So an example of that would be for the police department's monthly schedule, having our time team work with the police chief and the police clerk. We're supporting multiple pay frequencies. For example, the elected officials, judges, and the few employees that have the health insurance buyouts. We're looking to gain an effective HR partner with proper compliance support. For example, the DDL and New York State Workers' Comp coordination of employee shared responsibilities and those pay allocations, their return to work, the timeline that they come back to work, employee classifications and codes against budget. We want to track each employee's statuses as they change, whether it's a leave of absence or a workers' comp or sick time. We want proper payments and taxability calculated on a per pay period basis. We want to know when to stop making them, and we want to aid in managing all of that with end dates and workflows in the system. We're going to provide you dedicated support for Paychex's services. We're going to provide wage and salary benchmarking tools, as well as total comp statements, and we can delegate user roles by permissions with workflows for approvals in the ecosystem and reporting. The best part of the system is it has audit trails whenever anything's done, and it's a unified system for time and attendance, payroll, and HR. Are there any questions on this particular slide that's a call out to anyone on the board or present in the meeting today?
We're gonna get these slides after, right?
Will we be receiving a copy of this deck?
I can send you a PDF copy of this deck, sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we moved closer, so, yes.
How close? Is it New York?
Yeah.
A lot of radiation hazard.
All right. So again, going back, these are both what you told us, and it's also your desired state. You also shared this with us. So the employees themselves need the tools and the flexibility to see their own PTO, their own vacation, their own sick time. You want an entire ecosystem which is reportable. You're looking to link benefit times to anniversary dates, and we're looking to build out the full history of the employees themselves so that you guys can track that and see what increases look like in the past and where they will be in the future. We want custom earning codes. We want unique taxabilities. We want multiple pay codes by department, by role, by division. We want those tied to a budget and cost center. And for example, one of the key things that Paychex can offer is the fact that we can manage your Section 207C, DBL exempt tax payments due for officers that happen to be injured or have any illnesses due to their duties on the job. I know this has been a lot of work for the village in the past to administer and maintain this. This is something that we can support. We want to be able to forecast from a budgeting standpoint what longevity pay looks like, what the step notifications are, what a percentage would look like if we increase compensation by 3% or a flat dollar amount. We can manage that and we can give you forecasts without affecting payroll. So then if you choose to implement that, you can actually just click a button and apply it to either a group of employees or the entire municipality itself. We're looking for HR analytics tools coupled with live human capital subject matter expertise support, such as HR policies, compliance, procedures. We want to be able to understand how compensation raises for future planning will be applied and what are the metrics and criteria related to that. We want a configurable time and attendance system that's unified and integrated to our human capital management system. And we want it on a scheduled and calendar-based with workflow approvals for time off requests. We can even block out time or deny vacation requests if there isn't enough staff or coverage or a particular project's in play that requires all hands on deck. We're going to provide a supportive implementation process. And what this means is that Paychex is going to be doing about 90% of the implementation work, while the village team is not required to build out their own human capital management ecosystem. You guys will be making decisions and determinations about what the rules engines are, what policies and procedures are applied, where they're applied, and then our team takes over and does the work. We want to be able to track certifications, licensing, education, any provided hardware or assets the village may provide to employees, as well as training and development and the statutory trainings required in New York State and any village property that an employee has. At the time of retirement and preparation, those things can be collected. And basically, we're looking for a project that can be completed by the first run of January 2025 as a clean fiscal year start. In recapping the requirements for the village, is there anything here that's a call out for any of the work that you're doing that you would like to ask a question on or hear more about?
I mean, this all seems,
There's just so much being dumped on us. I wish we'd had these slides ahead of time, then we could sort of figure out what all these words mean, and we could have looked into some of this stuff.
I mean, I think that's a fair concern, but I mean, also, this has all been going on in the village for decades, and, you know, I trust the person who's been in charge of payroll to know the details of this. I don't personally need to know the details of this. I just need to know that it's being done accurately and appropriately. But I did want to just mention, our fiscal year starts in June, not in January. So
we were looking for like a clean W-2, like we were.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
We were just going to amortize our cost out to May 31st, but
yeah,
keep it a calendar.
Yeah,
Well, just for example, configurable HCM-TAA system, could you maybe just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, 100%. So to the earlier point, everything from an employee measurement period as far as taxabilities are concerned do start January 1. Your measurement period or your fiscal year start for what you guys do internally is kind of a moot point as far as New York State and the Fed's concerned. So yeah, it would be a clean W-2 start. So I'm glad for clarification on that.
Thank you.
So HCM, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you. HCM means Human Capital Management System. So that's the ecosystem or the web-based technology that you guys would have in partnership with us that would allow you guys to be able to log into the system from anywhere you have an internet connection securely. That's the payrolling engine. That's the HR information system. Time and attendance is denoted as TAA, time and attendance system. Our time and attendance system that's being offered to you in proposal is a full integrated suite, which is unified to the payrolling engine into the HCM system. TAA stands for time and attendance. It includes one single employee record. So anybody that has to have time captured, it will come off that one employee record. You don't have to enter the employee twice into a time and attendance system. It includes scheduling, and it includes an accrual engine, whether they're under the collective bargaining agreement or they're outside of the collective bargaining agreement. We will be able to automate PTO, vacation, sick, earned time off, holiday pay, all of that through what the village is currently doing through the rules engine of the time and attendance system.
So that's like punching in, punching out.
This is the replacement for
Yeah.
whatever that system is, the time clock.
Time clock.
Yeah.
Instead of the biometric time clocks at each of the locations, they'll either be at our desktop or laptop or a mobile app, and they do have the GPS fencing that they will have to punch in either at the highway or the water or the sewer.
Okay.
So there are, the village, you guys will put the rules, and Kyle, you guys will put the rules in place as to where you want that fencing to be.
So yeah, my question, and maybe you'll get to this in the presentation, is like what's the user experience of the employees? Is it like it's an app that they'll be using and they'll have an account and they'll be able to sign in and see, you know, how many vacation days have I used, how many are left? And right now they currently don't have that, correct? They have to go to you and you have to look it up on a spreadsheet.
They are supposed to be looking at their pay stubs.
Okay.
But what happens in that scenario often is they just call HR, right, or the supervisor, and then it's right. So yes, the user experience is a mobile app as well as online. And so they have their total paid time off calculated and accurate up to the minute right on their mobile phone. So if you're forecasting whether you can take a vacation in July, you can actually go in, look at the app, see what the earned time off, paid time off, vacation, sick time you have before making the request for the time off. So both instances, they can see it online and they can see it on the mobile app.
Okay.
So that request will be made through the program for vacation time or sick time or personal time?
Yes, and based off of the conversations we have, that will go to the supervisors and then they will either deny, approve, or they can even put it on hold if they needed to check a calendar, depending on how far out it is.
Well,
and you
that's
guys set the rules
We can
engines
set our
and the workflow around that.
But if say, I get a request for a vacation and I go in to check the calendar, will I be able to see if somebody else got approved for a vacation that day?
Yes, the calendar will show you all the employees that already have approved PTO if you need to deny it because you need a certain workforce in place.
And can I set it up in departments where I already know people are off? So say a gentleman wants to take on August 13th, want to take time off, and John Doe already put in for it. If that employee logs in and requests that date, will it be kicked back that it's already taken?
Not automatically without a supervisor's approval. The supervisor will still need to look at it.
Okay.
There are rules engines. The time and attendance solution that we're proposing is robust, but it doesn't have automated denial, and it doesn't cross 24 hours overnight for a night shift. Okay, and it doesn't. The other thing is it won't won't automatically deny based off of a shift schedule. It's always going to go to a supervisor.
Okay, because I know on a previous program, like you were able to do blockouts. So if an employee went in, it'd be kicked back and would have to be, if it was a blockout, then you would have to go see the administrator or whoever's in charge of that department to see if it can be overridden.
100%, and you have the ability to do that. If there's a blackout period or a blackout period where no one's allowed to take time, or that particular division or department is not allowed to take time off, maybe it's during the plow season, or maybe it's during a summer program through Parks and Rec, as an example.
Okay.
None of those folks would be able to, they would get an automatic denial. In that instance, they'd get an automatic denial without having a human intervening.
Okay.
And so if somebody calls in sick, how would that, like they wake up at 6 in the morning and they're ill, how would that flow?
I think in those instances, most people still call their supervisor or text them to say, hey, Joe, I'm not feeling well this morning. I'm going to be out today. The supervisor can go in and put in a sick day on behalf of that employee, or the employee themselves can then enter a sick day. Either one can.
If I could, Jimmy, really, I think one of the main points that Jimmy and I are trying to get to today is we're going to build this out exactly how you want it. So if there are rules or stipulations that you want to have in place that require and say, hey, we need a manager in place in order to do X, we're going to work with Karen and the team to make sure that we get that set up exactly how you guys want our flex time dependent system to work for you.
Hey, this is Gary. I just want to make sure we're aware that we've already identified these rules in our operations procedures, and we can implement those rules as they've already identified. So for sick time, there's a required period when they need to call in and notify the supervisor that they're on sick time to be able to be granted it. So this is already defined, and we would implement those rules with you if we choose to.
Excellent. Were there any other questions based off of the village's requirements that we've heard in the past and we've worked with to build the proposal out to this point?
Maybe I'm getting ahead of things, but what happens if you want some sort of a run on, let's say, how many overtime hours your employees in one department, have taken, have worked? Is there a way to run that, or is there a package and you can only run certain reports?
So you can run reports on the entire ecosystem. Anything that's a field within the system is reportable. Anything that's tracked is reportable. So the robust reporting is built into the ecosystem, and our dedicated support payroll specialists can help any administrator that has access to the system that you guys deem has access can then run reports by division, by department, by employee.
And they would not they wouldn't be extra cost, these would just be part of the package? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, it's included. To your question about overtime, a lot of the businesses, they really want to track overtime, because if Joe's only worked 25 hours a week, and Fritz has already worked 44 hours a week, and they both have the same credentialing, and they both have the ability to do the same work, we might want to call the gentleman who's received less hours so far to save the overtime as a cost control measure. So we can actually build in the scheduling system a report which is going to give you your overtime on a per pay period basis, as well as tracking against the overtime. So if the village chose to have a rules engine to say, notify me as part of the workflow, if an employee was approaching overtime or at 40 hours or whatever you guys deem to be a full work week schedule, could be 36 hours, it could be 32 hours, then the system can automate and email and notify the supervisor, so the supervisor knows that I'm approaching overtime or Joe's approaching overtime. So you can manage your overtime with a proper built-in scheduling and time and attendance system that should save in overtime costs if managed, right?
That's helpful. Automatic sort of kickouts like that to the supervisor.
It is helpful. And having the workflow and the notifications built in, anything inside the ecosystem is a report. And once the report's built, it can be shared with others. So if somebody comes up with a really great overtime report and it's applicable to the other departments, other projects that's happening, it can be shared out with those others. Paychex would like to show the board the 4 different HR solutions that we offer to our municipalities, to our private business clients. After a internal review, the Paychex HR Partner Plus standalone full HR support model was the selected platform, and that's what's being proposed on the work order that's being presented to the village. This is this one, and it's the second one. It's also an economical choice to get proper HR support. Scott, would you like to share any details about this?
Yes. In conjunction with the technology, having human support for the people of the village, whether it is building out these policies, procedures, and then backfilling in development and support for managers, administrators, each department head in their own specific instances. So whether it would be compensation benchmarking, again, utilizing some of the topics on the screen, revamping and redrafting job descriptions through your process. So in my tenure working as an HR business partner, right, we fall in line with the village, the township, the organization's workflow, whether it be approvals, working with each department in their own specific method, to be that strategic advisor and confidant that what we're doing is of benefit to the employees, to the town, and most importantly, compliant with the state and federal requirements. A lot of this for compliance sake, making sure we're updated, any policy that we have with a handbook, utilizing the system to push it out, and then, right, as Jimmy mentioned, being able to track everything that's in the system so we know where we're at with each stage of the process. So whether that be trainings, having documentation signed off, having the labor posters put up at each physical location. And on top of that, HR coincides with so many different departments, whether it be operational, financial, safety is also included. So an additional level of safety support to help minimize and reduce any type of risk exposure to the town, or to the village, sorry.
So for example, you have HR assessment and HR action plan. Just briefly, what would fall under that, for example?
Yep, so the HR assessment is an internal term, and what that is a gap analysis, right? Things that we've identified through this process and things that we will dive deeper into day-to-day operations and identify any areas of gap, whether it be compliance-driven or with the trends and patterns in human resources holistically that can be applied or adopted by the village. And then from there, we make the plan. So we take these actionable items and build out a strategic roadmap. So that way there's something tangible to show, hey, here's everything we're knocking off. We also understand certain instances or situations come up, and that doesn't necessarily mean we deviate from the plan. There's no limit to our consultation, our projects, emails, calls, webinars. We are a strategic partner to you. Build out that action plan, but understand certain situations might arise and we have to pivot. We're able to address things from that proactive HR action plan stance and also reactionary as situations come up, whether it's a leave of absence, an ADA accommodation, things that we can't plan for that specific instance, but we build the framework in that action plan so we're ready and able to address things as they arise.
So what would be one or two examples, not here, but in any village, that what would be a gap that you might identify that you could help on?
Yep, a lot of the times workers' comp return to work plans, organizations, and this is kind of universal, when an employee engages in a protected activity, filing a workers' comp claim, there is no return to work plan in action. We're just receiving the doctor's notes on when this employee can come back. When in actuality, we can take a proactive stance and bring the employee back sooner by doing modified duties. So that's an area that we've been able to address. A lot of the times, in my experience with municipalities, revamping the performance management process, whether it is utilizing the technology or making it a little more intentional to gather better information from the employees and allow managers to interact with their employees on a more frequent basis and kind of steer away from maybe just one singular annual review once a year. So putting in stopgaps and measures to increase employee engagement has been a large hit in municipalities, whether it's townships, divisions of cities, or villages.
Would this get into evaluations at all, or?
Yep. So the ability to either furnish it through the system, utilize the HR business partner to develop very specific, and it can be for each division, each department. So, we may have our office staff where we want to identify certain metrics and track them or review them. That is different from maybe our highway or sanitation, parks and rec. So the ability to create a customized strategic approach to HR, having that support for not only the administrators but managers to help in their development, to upskill and look into succession planning so our managers are supported throughout their tenure with employees.
Could you say a little bit about the bullet point that says handbook support?
Yep. So the ability to draft a compliant handbook, not only today, right? Compliance is ever changing. New York State, California, right? Kind of our heavy hitters when it comes to employee friendly policies. So we look at where we're at today based on employee size and location to make sure we're compliant in all of those sections. Things change as far as new requirements, new benefits, new regulations that employers are required to abide by. So staying proactive in that approach, and it's not, hey, last month we were supposed to make this change. Here at Paychex, we have compliance analysts internally that give us the trends and where states are tracking in proposing and implementing new requirements. So we're proactively reaching out to our clients to say, hey, this is in the pipeline, and here's how it's going to impact the organization, this department, this work unit, and here's where we need to start thinking about or looking to make a change if it passes. So we like to, again, provide that proactive support. An example of that was the Fair Labor Standard Act, where they increased the salary threshold in July, looking to do it again in January. We were working with clients in February and March to help them prepare for these changes July 1st. And again, currently working on that with them now to prepare for those changes come January 1st. Backfilling with any type of policy-driven requirement to make sure everybody is aware of these changes and why the village is going in this direction.
So another example of this may be the retirement system, which is really critical. New York State often changes how the reporting and requirements for retirement is being done. You guys are on front with that and can assist us rather than us be proactive rather than we're reactive to it.
Correct.
Yeah, to that point, Mayor, it's Jim. To that point, we're the only national provider that's actually a gold certified New York State retiree and retirement benefit designated Service Bureau. So what that means is that we took the 6-month process to go and do test files to be able to fund the New York State retirement system through this Paychex Flex Enterprise solution. And we built the bridge and the reporting requirements for the New York State Retirement Fund.
What about helping with like pay scales, because we don't have like 10 employees that do the same job, so it's very difficult to assess where to place these people on a pay scale.
Yeah, and I think that definitely was a big win for the village. The wage and salary benchmarking tools that are included as part of the HR analytics suite is going to be a real nice add-on value just based off of the conversations we've already had with the mayor and with Karen.
Where do you...
Eleanor, I just want to state there that statement where that's a tool that we can use, but it's still, they don't set it. We the board set whatever salary levels we want. They are not guiding us, but they are giving an analytical tool to help us determine where we should be.
And is that analytical tool based off of sort of the information that you've gathered from your other municipalities of what's an appropriate hourly rate for, you know,
This area.
for this area, for like a highway laborer or something?
It's based off of region. It can be drilled down to region, and it's based off of data collected that we purchase from a third party as well as our own clients. So by building a job rec description within the ecosystem, you can either find the exact role or you can find a very similar role and then distill it down to zip codes by region to see what the wage-based range would be for salary and hourly to help you then decide where your wages should be at, especially in this war for talent and finding employees that are capable and ready to go. If you're not finding them, you might find that the wage-based benchmarking or the salary benchmarking is a little bit off, and you need to increase the wage-based offering.
That's interesting. Do you peg your job descriptions, you know, because Dutchess County Civil Service has a database of job descriptions, and we have to, for the most part, sort of match up as much as possible?
No, we have to select.
Well, I know, but like, do you pull your job descriptions from, you know, that kind of information, or is it separate from sort of the civil service work?
I would think, you know, can we park that question and do a follow-up on it? Because I wouldn't feel comfortable assuring the village that that's getting pulled in, but we could certainly check with the vendor. I know that there are thousands of data points that our vendor aggregate that then serves up with the analytic tools, but I would prefer to park that question and get a response back to you guys versus to just say yes, because I wouldn't know that off the top of my head.
No problem, thank you.
And just to add to that, when we had the conversation, we talked about the civil service job requirements. We would load in what the job is, the job definition, and we would load in what is the Dutchess County Civil Service job description, you know, plus whatever modifications we make to that are approved by Civil Service. And that's how we would then build that database for a job description.
Got it.
They are not giving us a job description. We're going to give a job description to them.
That's true, but then you can use your job description to find the exact job description and then benchmark it against that, or a similar one that meets, you know, 95% of that job description to give you guys kind of a high-low and a middle mean.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So also we want to let you guys know that we're providing you a dedicated implementation manager. Going back to the point where Paychex is doing 90% of the heavy lifting, In addition to the implementation teams on time, payroll, and HR, working in coordination and delivering those services through the technology, we're also going to provide you a project manager. The project manager can be your main point of contact. They will be the ones coordinating meetings based off of schedules and your availability. They're also going to be a point of contact to do touch base calls. They would be on the welcome kickoff call on the initial meeting. And this is going to be a key person to ensure that each phase and each step of the project means that when you go live in January, we are able to optimize and maximize the system. People have been onboarded properly, they've been trained properly, and they're coordinating everything as a main point of contact. We're happy to provide you the implementation project manager. Not every client gets this. This is something that we've requested behind the scenes to ensure a successful implementation.
How much time do you think you'll need to implement?
Well, our cutoff date for time and attendance is November 8th for a January start. So if that's the rule of thumb right now, just on the time side,
Yeah, I get that.
it's going to, yeah.
I get that.
It's
So,
going to be a month of implementation process at a minimum.
got it. Because our next meeting isn't until November 12th, so we're gonna need a minute to digest all of this.
Understood. And if there's any follow-up questions, obviously we're here to support. We don't go away as your team. We are actively involved through the entire process as well. Scott, John, and myself will not be doing the physical implementation aspects, but we are part and parcel to the implementation team, and we're all synergistically working towards meeting the village's timeline goals and onboarding and a proper implementation. From a W-2 and payroll engine standpoint, our cutoff date is the first week in December before January starts, but you guys being a municipality, I would highly recommend we don't create an urgent fire drill scenario over the holidays, that we do this in a methodical way, a proper way, and a very communicative way, so that everybody's on the same page, knows where we're at with the project, and we give ourselves enough time to do a proper implementation. There's no point in taking you guys through the exercise if it falls down later down the road. The future state that we're crafting for you with our technology and with our live human capital management support, with dedicated support, is really going to be the crux of all of this. And I would prefer to get you guys in that process and in the queue and doing welcome and kickoff calls as quickly as you possibly would agree to. Any questions on our implementation consultants and our project managers?
I was going to say, I feel like I've digested about as much as I can at this point. I feel like we need to have a discussion on this end about what our next steps are and what we would like to do and how to coordinate all this. I mean, it's clear that you have an extremely robust set of services to offer. Many of them, I think will be quite helpful for the village, but I think that we, the village on the board, needs to understand a little bit more from the mayor and from Karen, if we can, as you guys went out and talked to these guys, the issues that you were looking to solve with this. And then we also need to talk about if this is going to be implemented on their timetable. We don't have anything to vote on or move on at this moment. So we got to talk about what the next steps are.
You mean a quote?
Completely.
Yeah, we don't.
I mean,
we received the quote via email, but I didn't realize,
the last page of both of them had the.
yeah,
quotes.
I just didn't realize this was gonna be something we were gonna vote on today. Okay,
So, but unless there's any severe objections, is there any reason we can't make a motion? We can make a motion if everybody's comfortable with this. If you're not comfortable if there's a reason to hold off, the objective here is to try to get into a 1/1 start. And the longer we delay, the harder that is to make happen.
I think, I mean, so a couple of decisions. We've had a good.
Why don't we let these lovely people
Yeah,
go?
that's true. I think maybe we can let the, I don't know, do we have any questions for these guys at this point?
I don't.
I think, yeah, now I think we're over to a core discussion of what we would like to do. Sorry. And a little bit of background, okay?
Yeah, and to support the conversation, I'm going to send the PDF of this deck to Karen right now.
Thank you. Have to go downstairs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. If there's any outline questions that come up during your discussions, please reach out. We'll follow up on the parking lot question, and we look forward to the partnership. We look forward to working with you guys. Obviously, you know that we work with municipalities in the region successfully, and we'd like to do the same for you. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to ask a question. Put your book down, Karen. I can have
I thought you were done with me now.
No, not yet. I mean, they presented us with a lot, but I just would like you, since you did some of the initial legwork to talk to the companies and did some, like, can you describe how you and the mayor got us to this place to bring the Paychex proposal to us?
Okay. We've had some issues with the time and attendance portion of time and attendance being biometrically in one system, being downloaded, being sent over, manually put into the financial software, and then the financial software not having the ability to track it, so basically manually tracking it from payroll to payroll. I think people being concerned about their benefit time, maybe not knowing that somebody's anniversary, whether it's the police or department or lack of communication of knowing, hey, I was supposed to get 25 cents an hour more 6 months ago, so now you gotta give me a retro pay for 25 cents for whatever I worked part-time for the last 6 months. So we've had just issues like that have come up. It's more than just physically putting the time in and writing the checks. At this point, it's not like a mom and pop store anymore. It's gotten more complicated. I mean, the child tax credits, the W-2 used to be on 1 page, now it's on 4 pages. Even just picking your deductions is not, hey, should I just, use 1, 2, or 3? There's just, and I think that having just that kind of support, and again, I'm not going to say that I know all the answers, and I think one of the things he said, New York State, they're changing their deductions. The feds are gonna change in January, the tax tables. They'll make sure that the tax tables are changed on January 1.
Right.
So I think there's just been, we've talked about it for a long time. You've been here, we've talked about it, and I just, we thought we were starting early enough to say, hey, let's, and then we picked a local company who, very nice, they came in 11,000 more than Paychex, and they said we provide more personal service, and yes, but they don't have any municipalities as clients. So that was a little concerning, that do we want to be kind of the guinea pig of another,
No.
Yeah, and so then again, I have to go with my networking of peers and professionals that I work with. I have one again, I don't want to say the, what, you know, the one town that, you know, uses a company, and then I've had 3 or 4 other towns that have used Paychecks. They said they get great reports, they get reports to do their journal entries, to journal it into their system. And they said that, you know, when they're on Paychecks, the employee can get a user and password, and if they miss their W-2, they can go on and get it. They can go on and look at their pay, their rate of pay. They can go on, and I think they're more apt to look at that than they are their pay stub every 2 weeks in paper.
Right.
So I think we've just come up to that. On the HR, never meant to step on anybody's toes, just to integrate it, because again, there are some things that we don't always find out. We don't always know about the 207C. I mean, that was like really difficult to navigate through, and then to do it again, and then, you know, then to have somebody go out on disability, and then Martina's like, well, I didn't know he was getting a check. He was getting a check from, you know, and then to know, are they getting a check from that, or, you know, so,
Well, I think the payroll end of it is one part for the HR, but admittedly, just seeing this for the first time today, I would have a lot more questions about the HR aspect. I don't know if we need all of that. I don't know if it makes sense, especially with the other company that we're looking into for certain things. That I definitely have more questions about, but for payroll and time reporting, I think it's excellent.
Is there a way to?
So Martina, we get to pick and choose a lot of this. From an HR perspective, they take over a lot of that management of the disability and the 207C, which you've been putting a lot of effort into, and track that for us. So it's an HR relationship with the employee. There are still lots of things in terms of policies that we need to do that are over and above this, that it doesn't block out kind of what we're thinking about with another company.
Right, but there's a lot of repetitive things, so, I mean, he explained a little bit more with job descriptions, but, yeah, so that's my point. It would just be nice to see what those specific things are to make sure that we're not doubling up on certain things, and what really my role is then in there, because again, I just saw this for the first time today.
And when we go through the process, we could work through that as well.
What is lost if we just take the payroll part of the package? What major things do we lose that we?
Yeah, is there a way to
We could
split
add
the
the
baby
HR
at the
stuff.
moment?
Add the HR stuff later.
And add the HR stuff once Martina sort of had a moment to sort of,
And we have, you know, we got the stack and we look at it and.
yeah, be sort of read into it a little bit. Could we do like the payroll stuff now so that we meet this sort of early November deadline? And then think about the HR stuff in November? I don't know who I'm looking at here. Am I looking at Gary? Like, am I looking?
Yeah, so let me take a stab at that. Because with the time recording and the payroll functions that come along with that base package, they are the critical things that we really need.
Yep.
Adding the ability to say what policies are coming down the pipe and what is going on are critical for us to plan in for the next year. But as I said, you know, it's a moot point that our fiscal year doesn't align. From New York State and the Fed, that aligns with January 1st.
Yeah.
So if policy is going to change, or the retirement policy changes, the retirement policy is an HR function, right? So it's something that those certain things we need to do that Karen mitigates, and we can like say policy that we or the board are going to pass about smoking or vehicle use or, you know, blah, 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 blah. That's totally separate from all of this. That's not part of what this process is.
Well, I think that's the question, is can we move forward with the payroll aspect and do the policy part later, especially because of the conversation we just had with a separate company?
Well, not even really the policy part, but like that whole sort of, unless what you're describing is like the HR stuff that they are offering is like very specific to payroll work.
it is.
Yeah, and not, you know, it's like, right, as you mentioned, Gary, like vehicle use policies
Employee
and things
handbook.
like that, an employee handbook, like,
Right.
it's sort
I
of,
mean, you still have you're still gonna need your employee handbook. What I liked about the HR part of it is they do onboarding of the employee. They make sure they get the 2 forms of ID, they do the I-9, they do all of that. And then it also becomes an electronic record that we're not like, oh, hey, somebody took something out of my file, or hey, something's missing in my, or, I'm just saying, for instance, like, it just kind of, what I liked about it, it kind of put it in a package.
and does that include things like, I mean, I know that that Eleanor, you mentioned employee performance reviews, but like, so would an employee's sort of personnel file then be, you know, electronic and in the cloud and managed by this
Well,
company?
it's managed by whoever has the administrator.
So Martina would manage, you and Martina would sort of split
Yeah.
the baby on that one?
She would manage the personnel file themselves.
Right.
I would just take it at the end of it and do the journal entry into the system.
Got it.
And Kyle would manage the
Time off requests.
authorizations, and he would have the different department things. But I just thought, I liked it being kind of electronic. What if we did it the other way and tried it for 1 year and then backed out of the HR and said we don't need it?
Also, you gotta think about this for both Martina and Karen. This is a backup to them. It's not a replacement for
Right.
them.
Right.
It's a tool, a backup tool for them to use. It doesn't take away their responsibility for new employees coming on board. It just gives them a tool to work with to be able to make that all happen.
I mean, the way I think about it is like, over the past few years, we've done a lot to bring the village into the 21st century,
Yeah.
you know, with the building department, and this seems similar.
Right.
So then whatever Martina mentioned looking into, would we not look into that now, or is that?
No, I think we would, because that was a company that would help us with like the full employee handbook of like vehicle use policy and lactation policy and all of this stuff that we're required to have by federal and state
And
law.
that would be a 1-year thing, or that would be an every year expense?
We would talk about that when we bring that up, but it can be either.
Yeah, I think they just use the term handbook, but it's very specific to payroll.
To payroll
And to
specifically.
payroll
Right.
laws.
And they,
So like retirement and
yeah,
child
they use
support and
HR,
blah, blah, blah.
they
Right.
use HR as a generic term.
Got it. But it's really
Their
HR.
is very specific.
Right, so it's like when I got a new job, I like uploaded all of my I-9 kind of stuff into the, you know, electronic system, but then I actually sat down and had a conversation with like my boss and the HR director about like, these are our policies and this is all the rest of it, but like all of the money stuff was sort of managed by a separate system.
Right.
Is that sounds like what we're talking about here.
Right, and they'll still have to sit with Martina and go over the
actual employee
village
handbook, right.
policies.
Right, so the municipal policies and here's the social media policy and like and all the rest of it, right? Okay.
I think it takes us kind of out of the middle of it from just, from employing an employee, getting them in the system, and the payroll logistics and legalities of payroll.
Right, because as you mentioned, it's just gotten more and more and more complicated with more and more regulations coming at us all the time. Right.
Yeah, Karen just recently spent a month going through the retirement system, right? And reallocating just a few employees that we have.
Right.
And, you know, we are beyond the stage where, as I think Vanessa said, being able to do all of this with our minimum staff and keep going. It's become, how do we drive efficiencies into our organization so that we can stay on top of all of the mandates and all the requirements that are coming forward and still be responsive to our constituents.
So Gary, so for example, the corporate events calendar, which is in the sheet that we got emailed, how would that be populated? Would each, you know, how would that work?
They're doing, yeah, Elmer, just ignore that because
So-
that's one one of their examples and one of the things that they put in and say, you know, you can build your calendar out and you can make that your corporate calendar of when things happen, but it's up to us to mandate and put that requirement in.
Yeah, like
And put in what we want.
right, everybody doesn't need to know what their schedules are, but it's in place for their management, the water and sewer. It's, you know, it's not, I don't think everybody needs to know when Brian's working or not working, but Kyle needs to know. I think those are the calendars and fork that they're talking about.
Okay.
I used a program like this with MVP, and it was, I mean,
Great.
Great.
Double thumbs up.
Yes, I
So
mean, you
Gary,
get an
you're
email, you
saying
get
that-
notification through the computer and everything else. There's no more. You eliminate the paper, you sign, you accept, you boom. It's.
Right.
And I like the fact there was where, like with Martinez, like planning on our mandates each year, and we come up with those dates, and an employee one, we could use those as 2 blackout dates because it's going to be workplace harassment and sexual harassment, and then employee tries to take off, nope, you can't because you have mandatory training.
Right.
So there's a lot we can do to eliminate.
And maybe even use
And we can also, what's nice about this, the police have already given a thumbs up for us to do electronic recording and everything. This system would work very well with our police department, which today is not even participating in the current system that we have, which makes it another unduly process to work with. We can now incorporate all of our operations into one tool.
If I may say, it seems like the board, and people seem like the utility of this is obvious, or it seems like we're on board with the utility of this.
Yes.
It sounds like the lingering question is the HR implementation side of things, and we understand how Karen and payroll will interact, but we don't really completely understand how the HR side of things is going to work out. Is that fair to say for the group? Is that?
I mean, I think I'm getting an idea of how the HR side of things would work, but I think the most important person in this room who needs to understand that is the person who does the HR side of things. This one, yeah.
And we can note, as I mentioned, this is a work in process. We would define it as we go forward. It's not here's what you get and this is what you have to do. Martina will work with them like Karen worked with them to define each specific item and put it into how we would manage it and use it through paychecks. So Martina gets to define what support she needs.
And you'll get an email of these 5 people.
I mean, it would have been nice to have that information, but that's, obviously, I think we do need the entire program. I'll just have to have my own sit down or do something. I don't really know what to say.
So what you're saying is useful, but you need to be brought up to speed on what's.
Yes, and if I'm being honest, I don't know if it's redundant, again, with other plans that we're making, and I don't know if the Pro Plus package is the appropriate package, if we might just need the basic. I don't know what the cost difference is, I don't know.
It's 13,000 or something, 12 or 13,000. The HR portion is bigger, that's why I kind of was, more focused. The paychecks, the payroll part makes total sense. Karen has thoroughly explained that, and that the other part,
I guess I'm just worried that, again, it's definitely your decision, you're the board, you can decide to take a piece of it or take the whole thing of it, but I'm just concerned that, okay, let's decide not to take the HR, and then, okay, well, now we're sending them information, and then we're kind of back to.
We're back to someone being in the middle.
Right, and not just having.
Right, that's why it would have been
I
helpful
just
to know exactly what the.
Because that's not entirely what happens, so I'm confused. It would have been nice to have this information and to talk it out and to give examples of what I actually do. I can't speak for your end.
But on the other hand,
I can't speak for us, folks.
Well, it's not even just
But
that.
as Karen suggested, we can always back out of it if we try it and come June of next year, because right now, the only thing we should approve would be to get us through until June, and then we have to go through the budget process. and we get through our budget process and we decide that we don't want to pay for that HR function, we can then back out of it. What we're going for is not buying this suite for a 24 calendar year. We would be buying into it to get us through to June 1st, to get us into our next
Do we
budget.
have, we budgeted for this?
No.
For,
Yeah, where would the money for this be coming from?
So the money for this would be coming from our fund balance.
So, I think we determined it would be, it's around 25,000 for the first year, 23,000, because 1,500 of it's onboarding.
Implementation, right?
But, so for 5 months, for starting January to May would be 10,600, I think we talked about 50% of it general, 25 water, 25 sewer.
Right.
So Gary, if we broke it up, would we have to pay another implementation fee, do you know?
I do
So
know.
would that be an issue if we,
Yeah, if we chose not to do the HR function, there would be another implementation fee for the HR function when we adopt that.
Would it be possible to do the lower level HR thing? Because it sounds like the basic HR.
We are on the, there was that one, the second, and then the third and fourth. We are on that.
On the
lower
second
level
one.
that's
Yeah.
the lowest HR, right?
They suggested the pro plan,
Yeah.
not the low one.
Yeah, there was
No,
a,
we're on the lower one though. We're
On the
not, we're
The second from the left.
Yeah,
The second from the last, but not
Oh, we're
the
on
last.
No, not the last. No,
Right.
the four, we were number 204 up there.
Right.
Up the sliding scale.
So wait, so we're on the
Number 2 of that little domino graph.
1, 2.
One, two from the
Yeah.
left, 1, 2.
Yeah, okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. But the one is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
paycheck.
Now, we're on the full-time recording, full paycheck recording, and the lowest level of HR.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah, thank you.
okay,
it's the lowest level of HR.
okay.
It's just that I don't know what the functions are, I don't know what is supposed to be expected. It's a tool that I might use, but if I don't end up using it, and then we're paying for it for 6 months for nothing.
Right. Is there a way to catch Martina up on this?
You know, I'm gonna say I appreciate, Martina, your question.
If you want it and you want to get it, that's totally fine.
Right, and your hesitancy, the one thing that it seems like for sure that we need is at least the mathematical and the pay calculations that are involved
100%.
on the HR
I
side.
didn't know that there was an HR side.
Right, but, so we need at least, but we need that part of the HR suite. And then if there's some of the other management parts of the HR suite, that seems to be really where the question that you have.
Kind of,
generally.
yes.
So it's
I
really
mean-
the second half of the HR suite about what it can or can't do for us. But it seems like we need the number side of it, I would say. I'm dividing up into 2 sections in my mind.
Also,
One of them
that's-
helps with your calculations.
That's payroll, but like,
No, but there's an interaction between payroll and HR and the policy and all that kind of
With
stuff. I think
benefit
that's-
of retirement, right?
there's a retirement is essentially the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And then if we've got somebody on 207C, which again, only briefly hearing, I don't know what their whole process and plan is for that, so.
Right.
Sorry, I'm,
I just
Martina,
don't have enough information.
they would help guide us through the 207C and help manage payments and track payments for us.
So that's a Karen
So
thing,
we-
but that's not, it doesn't affect
That's
me. My
HR.
part is still,
But they're calling that HR.
so I think
They're
we're
calling
getting,
that HR.
yeah, so I think we're getting a little confused on like, what they define as HR is not what we as a village defines as HR.
Right.
So what it sounds and feels like is like there's actually very little of this that involves you. I mean, a lot of it involves you, but like,
well, that's why I wanted to see the difference between the basic one and the one up, because the one up had a lot of different things that I'm responsible for, but I don't know what their,
but you would
what their
still be
role was.
responsible for them if we're not getting them.
But that's why I'm confused as to
Well,
what
maybe
they're
in
offering.
June, like, maybe if we got started with what they're proposing, and then in June, you're like, oh, now I can see how I can
If you
use
guys
this
want to
even
do that,
more.
that is entirely your choice, but when asked, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think that, I think that since we're going to June, we're not even paying the first 25,000. You know, I think that we should, I think we should go for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm gonna agree. We have a need here.
I might love it. I
It is
just
a
don't
quick,
know anything
right,
about
it
it.
is a quick digestive process that we are
Yeah.
undergoing here. Kyle, it's good to
Yeah,
hear
so like
from
that's
you
what I was wondering.
that
That's
you've
part. I
had
don't know what they mean by that.
positive
And that part,
interactions with that
and
kind of
labor
stuff.
posters and employee assistance project. We haven't, like, I don't know what they're offering.
So,
Right, so I think some of this, what you can do is like, once we have
It's
it,
a little redundant.
well, or once we have it, you can figure out if you prefer it, and then
Right.
we can just,
Or,
because
yeah,
because
you
we'll
might,
have to start,
you know, and then we can get rid of the other ones, you know, I don't know.
I don't either.
Right,
Alright, so
but
we're
like,
gonna- I think
so,
we're-
I think if we're
you
comfortable
could
with
also
Martina, like
decide,
scoping
Martina,
it
you might
out.
say, hey, it's nice that they're redoing the labor poster every
Yeah,
year and I
could
don't have
be.
to remember to do it.
Could be great.
right. So I think that's also part of it is, and this is sort of, what I've been realizing is that so much changes year over year. I mean, even for stuff that we need to know, let alone the stuff that you two
Right,
need
the
to know.
posters may change 4 times a year now.
right.
Right.
And this information does not get pushed to Karen and Martina, right? It's not
And
like the
like I
state
said-
legislature sends down a letter and says, hey, everybody gotta be up
And
to
like I
speed.
said, I
Well,
don't,
I mean, our labor posters
I don't-
will automatically come, but.
Yeah, yeah.
So Martina, let me remind you, this is a tool for you to use. It's not a replacement for you. And when we go through the process, we get to pick and choose, kind of like from the menu of what fits with us and what doesn't.
That's fine. I just literally had no idea what it was. So,
Okay.
Again.
So,
I understand.
Okay.
all right, I think, Gary, I think we're at the point where it's time to make a motion to do the allocation and spend the money. Are we guys agree? Do you agree?
Should that be 2 separate motions?
Probably, but I just wanted to talk it out before we get there.
I think so, probably, yeah.
So the allocation is for, so let me ask you a question here.
It's for $10,640,
Thank you.
of which,
of which 5320 is from the general fund and 2660 is from each of the water and the sewer funds.
it was 42% of the 25,000 over the 5
Over
months
5
left in the
months,
year.
yeah. And would we pull all 3 of those from those various fund balances?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Martina, do you have that in the motion format?
I have the numbers. Are you making the motion?
I will make a
Lenny,
motion.
would you mind just running those numbers? again?
Sure, 5320 from the general fund, and then 2660 from each of the water and sewer.
And is that a motion to pull funds from those accounts?
It is a motion, yes,
To spend that,
to, yes.
I think there's a motion,
to accept the contract, or to.
okay, the first motion
And the
is,
first motion, and I need a second.
Do I have to, first of all, do we have to move it to the general fund or move it to?
No, we don't have to move it.
No,
I think we
okay.
can change our subject contract.
Okay,
Well, we'll do that after. I just need a second to appropriate these funds.
okay,
Is everybody good?
okay.
You
So,
want to authorize Gary to sign the contract?
Now I'll make that a third
We'll-
motion.
we'll do the motion. Okay, so I'd like, so we can call a vote on allocating the funds from the 3 fund balances.
I thought we were, wait,
No, I'm calling a vote, if we want to
Okay.
do that.
is that what?
I had the motion, I have a second.
Right, so
I need to
each
vote.
of those numbers would come from the fund balances, general, sewer, water.
So, all in
Okay.
favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
motion carries. The second motion you need is to authorize the mayor to sign the contract?
No, the second motion is I need for you guys to accept this proposal.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal from Paychex to provide services
Thank you. Thank you.
as outlined.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I
None.
need somebody to motion that Rick can sign this contract.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for the deputy mayor to be able to sign the contract in the mayor's absence.
Which I can't.
No, unfortunately, he can't, I have to sign it, and I can do that when I get back.
Oh, okay, great.
Well, then I can sign it.
Motion fails.
I'll make a motion that the mayor will sign the contract upon his return.
Second.
Any additional discussion?
You don't have to change it. Yeah,
Nope,
he hasn't made it yet.
Boyd.
All right, the motion is from the mayor to sign the contract upon its return. We have a second. I'm sorry.
We already voted to accept it, and so then Gary can.
Okay, great, got it. Okay, so we're done.
Yeah, so my 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Your 15
minutes are over.
minutes of
You're
fame
welcome.
are
Sure.
complete.
Thank you very much,
All
Karen.
right, I'd like to make a comment, if I could. I'd like to thank the board for listening through this process. It's been very long, and I'd like to thank Karen for everything that she's done to help move this along in a long ways, because this has been under discussion, as you all know, for a long, long time. And I think this is really going to be of extreme value to us as the village and bring efficiencies and improvements to our process. So thank you.
All right,
No problem.
Yeah.
onward to the 21st century.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christ almighty.
All right, I'd like to move to the next item.
25 years in.
That's right. I'd like to move to the next item, which is task order 036, the Amendus Locust Hill Sewer and Water Task Order. Brandy, do you want to give a quick?
Sure, just real quick overview. This is just requesting that the board create an escrow fund. I believe the fund exists already, and so this would be to request the developer to fund the escrow account with additional dollars so that we can provide engineering oversight for the proposed sewer and water connection that this developer intends to make to the village system. And this is for the Locust Hill development, which is there off of Astor Drive and 308.
And it's for a $10,000 balance, and then once it gets down to 3,000, replenish.
Okay, so we're requesting the developer to write us a check for $10,000,
Correct.
and once it gets below $3,000 to replenish. That is the motion on the table?
No.
No?
No.
I'd like to amend the motion if I could, please.
I don't,
Sure.
we have, at least, no, the motion is to accept Time Bond's task order. And they're just saying that there is already a,
Yeah, we already have an escrow.
we have an escrow account. This is coming out of that escrow account. We don't need to, we're not amending the escrow account. This is to accept their task order for this work that needs to be done.
For the oversight.
We have, so I think you can chop off the, part number 3, because we have the escrow account already established with its own set of rules.
So the motion is to accept amended task order 2024-36A.
Yes.
And I would like to just amend the motion a little bit to say that all the work being performed by Time Bond for Locust Road be handled by task order so that we can track it.
Oh my God.
So, okay.
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so hold on. So, all right, the motion on the table, yeah, why don't you make a complete motion?
Let's break them up.
Yes.
Let's break all of them into the
No, we
first.
don't have to, Rick.
Well, I
Rick,
think
we
to be
can keep-
clear, it's just rather break them up, that way, one toy at a time. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept task order 2436A as amended from Ty and Bond.
Second.
Any additional discussion at this time?
Yes, could you explain the review of estimates of construction costs for establishing appropriate bonds for the village?
Yes, absolutely. So the village will want to have bonds in place to protect their interests in the event that construction work gets started and the developer, maybe for unforeseen reasons, stops working. The village may want to have resources available to finish out those sewer and water connections. And so traditionally what's done is that we request the developer prepare an estimate of the value of construction upon which the bond would be based on, and we would review it to make sure that it meets the requirements. So if the village has to perform the work, it has to be done under prevailing wage. We want to make sure that all the numbers that are used in that estimate are consistent with industry standards.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one
So
question.
these are, Randy, these are performance bonds.
That's correct.
Right?
Yep, that's correct.
Just to be very clear to the board, these are performance bonds.
Vanessa had a
Okay,
question.
yeah, I just had the question of like, when does the clock start on this project? Because I know we signed the agreement with Locust Hill, and they were going to pay us half up front, right? I'm just curious, like, are we waiting for that payment before we start Time Bond working on this?
Vanessa, the agreement that we signed was for them to pay half when they got the permits.
Yeah,
And they are now, they were just approved by the town, which is the authorizing authority to approve the construction.
Oh, wow.
So they are still going through that, through the planning board process right now. And once they obtain the available permits, that's when they give us the first 50%.
yeah.
And the last 50, the other 50% is before we accept.
Right, and so the work that you're proposing starts when?
Now.
Now,
Yeah, so what's happening in parallel,
Okay.
the developer is pursuing their permits with the town of Rhinebeck, but in parallel, they're also trying to get their permits with the DEC and the county health department.
Yeah.
And so those permits are the ones the village wants to review plans for because it involves the village's infrastructure. We were contacted 2 or 3 weeks ago by the developer's consultant saying, can we have a sit-down meeting? You know, we really want to kick this process off and get plans in front of you so that you can make some initial comments. And we'll need to work closely with Kyle on this, but we need to receive the information from
and
them.
I believe the situation there is this is a separate pot of funds from the construction and the
Yeah,
other
this is
stuff.
the escrow.
This is the escrow. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really
I
the,
just want to
to
know
do
if
the
we're
legal
working in
work.
parallel.
Yes,
to do the
definitely
legal
in
work
parallel.
and the part of the work
Yeah,
to get
they
up
have
to
an
the
aggressive
point.
schedule,
Okay.
so they're trying to move things along quickly.
Any additional questions?
Yes, just because we're talking about sewer and water, I was curious why we didn't consult Delaware? that
Because
seems
the
like-
agreement is that Delaware will deal with everything inside the buildings and Ty and Bond deals with everything outside the buildings.
And just to be fair, we do work with Delaware pretty
Delaware's
regular.
aware of this.
Yeah,
Knows
and-
what's going on within the plant when we're, sorry to cut you off,
No.
even with the construction and moving forward with the upgrades at the plant, this was all
Yes.
considered by Delaware sharing the information with Ty and Bond.
Any additional questions? Okay, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Motion carries.
Rick,
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, please.
Oh, sure.
I'd like to make a second motion that the agreement with Ty and Bond be managed by task order so that we have better tracking ability of the escrow account.
So,
What Gary's asking is, as,
so you think this task order is not gonna be sufficient? Is that what the concern
I think
is?
there's going to be if we're into the discussion phase here now. I think this task order, Randy can help me if I'm wrong, is going to be multifaceted, and there's going to be a continuous work going on. And one of the issues we've always had is managing the level of the escrow account. And if we do it so in a way that we periodically know what Ty and Bond is spending against the escrow account, we can then be proactive with Kermit.
I can comment on that. So just to be clear, when the escrow account is established, this is not village funds. The developer is funding an account that covers our costs for the time we are spending advocating for the village. So I want that to be very clear. But to Gary's point, what we have done is we've talked with Chrissy and Karen about how we can have good communication to make sure we're not drawing the escrow balances down to a negative,
Yeah.
where it puts the village at risk for having to cover those costs. So we've got a process of every month checking in with Chrissy just to see where the balances are and halting our work and then coming back to this board to say we're requesting an amendment for additional services because these additional things have happened with this development.
So the interesting thing is that this task order that we just,
I tried to
Approved.
capture it in the task order.
yeah, well, this task order that we just approved doesn't actually have a budget associated with it. It just says, to be funded with an additional extra of 10,000, and when the escrow reaches 3,000, then we
Right.
go and ask Carney for another $10,000 check. I think from our perspective, Gary, your motion is redundant. And this is more of an administrative issue between Brandy, because this is not a this is not a task order that has a budget associated with it, and so every time they spend money, do they have to, every time, what I'm confused about is what the new task orders would say.
We do this.
And I agree with you on that because I don't know what the new task order is saying, but I don't want to get caught with another grad year.
Yeah, no, I get that. Do you think that at any point you're going to be spending more than $3,000 in a single month?
It's possible, particularly when they get to the construction phase and you're doing some degree of observation of construction.
Right.
If you have somebody out there for multiple days in a row, that can chew through a lot of, and I don't know if that'll be needed. I'm just trying to project forward. And it's not uncommon for us to come back to municipalities with an update and a request for an additional fund. We usually write the letters requesting the developer fund. So like we try to make it administratively as light on you guys as possible, but it does keep the costs kind of out in daylight for purposes of public information.
So it seems like the issue that we've been having is we've had developers running up their escrow tab.
Right, and
Comes
we have
in
not
late
been
to-
chasing them when it hits
Well,
zero.
or it comes in late
right.
to us.
And we-
Essentially, we're floating them
Yeah.
sometimes, and the issue is
Right, how to tighten that up.
how to tighten the
Yeah.
float issue. I'm not sure if, maybe we should have that discussion
Yeah.
not here, but in
I
some
mean,
other way.
I think on this point, then it's sort of like, we should have funded the initial escrow at $20,000 with a minimum of $5,000 or something, you know, I mean, sort of.
But that's our escrow agreement with the developer, which we have,
Which we would then have to amend.
right, which we have to amend, right?
So I think what Gary's and Brandy are saying is that, you know, Brandy will come back and say, okay, it's time to re-up again, and it'll be another task order. And that's how we will track the escrow, is through task orders and keeping a tight loop on it.
Do you need a motion for that?
So the motion is that have Time Bond handled all
Well,
expenditures
they do this
via
already.
amended task orders? Is that,
That's fine.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And in order to make sure the escrow is fully funded.
I will second for additional conversation here. I don't understand how this works. If you can, so the developer's gonna come to you and say, hey, we need you to clear these permits. You're gonna come back to us and say, we think it's gonna cost $10,000, $5,000. We clear it. I'm not sure how this is going.
Sure.
You've already, I don't, tell me how it's going.
Yeah, no, we do this pretty regularly. So the developer wants to turn infrastructure over to the village.
Right.
And we don't want you to get something that is substandard. So part of our role as the village's engineer is to work with the developer's consultant early in the process, give them the village specifications on water meters, water mains, you know, where we want pipes, where we want things to be installed in relationship to the road right of way, pump stations, pump specs, pump station details, metering pit details. There's all these things that we'll work through the details of with the developer so that they can put together good plans. Then we provide comments, we verify that they meet the village requirements, what's in the village code, but also standard engineering practices, which there are a number of acceptable guidelines. Then once the village is satisfied, then they'll send it off to the county and the DEC, where the county and the DEC will do their particular review. Then once they secure their permits, they'll commence construction. They'll need to have a kickoff meeting with the village to discuss their schedule, their scope, when they're going to do certain things, when they're going to need to interrupt activities on a road, when they're going to need to tie into the existing sewer and water system, because that will create service interruptions. So there'll be a lot of construction coordination. Then in addition, there'll be some degree of observation just to make sure that things going in are meeting the village's standards. We'll work with the developer to close things out. You know, things just always seem to arise. So our role is really as an advocate for the village to make sure you get a product that will last a long time and that you won't have a lemon at the start.
Gotcha. No, I totally understand that part of it.
Yes.
Really, the issue that we just want to make sure is that you, on our behalf, do not overspend the escrow account.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the question is figuring out how to make sure that, because you get requests from the developer to do work,
Yep.
you then bill them out, then they come to us, and we can be like, holy cow, you just sent in one for $6,600, and here's another one for $7,500, and that's more than the escrow account. We didn't know that two were coming in. It's really coordinating the
It's project management,
the
right?
project-
So it's
yeah.
it's incumbent on us, and that's why we started monthly meetings with Chrissy, just to see where the balances are, and then we have to use our judgment to say, okay, we think in the next month, based on what the developer's telling us they're doing, it's going to be X. Let's fund this account with more money, or no, we look fine for the next month. But this monthly check-in, I think, has really helped, and we've actually implemented that with 6 Mulberry, just because initially it was kind of bumpy, but towards the end it smoothed out because we got this system down where we were meeting with Chrissy on, hey, the developer made another submission, hey, we're needing to do a seeker review. So I think it's project management and it's good communication with the village.
So can this motion that we're in the middle of talking about, can that just be handled by good communication with Chrissy?
It should be, but if the village wants to formalize that we report back at an interval, we're happy to do that as well.
Well, I mean, because I think having you come to us once every few months for an updated task order for honestly something that we're not spending village money on, I mean, I don't know. This sounds like an administrative problem, not a legislative problem to me.
I would agree.
So.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like.
To see how the village spent other people's money before we had it, and that's how we ended up where we were. And Rich is very much aware of that situation that we had.
No.
We wrote checks when we didn't have enough money in the account to write the checks because it was coming too fast.
I get that, but once again, that sounds like an administrative problem, not a legislative problem.
Right.
So I don't think we should spend legislative time on this particular solution.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think that this is something that we should be handling
Internally.
internally with our accounting and time bond and stuff. I don't think we need to raise it to a level of resolution and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So.
All right, okay, I withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the discussion. All right. Next task order is task order 046A, Stormwater Infrastructure Study Amendment, which I'm going to pull up with alacrity. Brandon, do you want to give us a little?
Unlike anything else that's happened in this meeting.
Something fun.
So this is an amendment to Task Order 46. Task Order 46 was for mapping the village's drainage infrastructure so that you have a complete dynamic mapping tool available as a resource to Kyle and the highway folks, but also so that we can start planning drainage projects where we know we have drainage concerns in the village. Through the mapping exercise, what we came across, and I believe Ryan Morrison met with you, Kyle, and with Gary, we came across a number of areas where there's some sort of condition of the drainage network. Either the pipe has failed, it's clogged, something is going on, and we cannot figure out several sections of the drainage system. So in those instances, what we try to do is we get a closed circuit TV camera. It's like a little track mounted camera. It goes down the pipe. It has a fisheye lens on it, so we can see 360 degrees in the pipe as you go through the pipe, and it tracks the distance down the pipe, so you know how far down the pipe it has gone. Creates fascinating TV footage that we have some staff engineer review and annotate where in the system there is a problem. But the subcontractor that we use for this, in addition to doing the video investigation, also has the means at the same time to clear blockages. So they can jet out some of the blockages so that they can get further down the pipe. So it may be a combination of repair and video, or clearing and video. And so that's what this task order is for. It's for 3 days of field work, and we've reviewed the areas where we have no information due to some sort of data gap. We'd like to recommend proceeding with these 3 days of field work and having the subcontractor do both the inspection and any jetting that might present itself during the field work.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept task order 046A for an amount not to exceed $17,100 for the work as described.
Second, but how are we gonna pay for this?
That's a good question.
Gary's on mute. No, he's not.
This is gonna come out of the same fund, and I forget which one it was, that we took the additional money out for 46. And there was funding available to be able to do that. And I forget which ones it was. But I talked it over with Karen and we have the funding.
In a designated line.
All right. So this is this just the start, or so you could find other areas? There could be more task orders, or?
In terms of, we believe that this is what's needed to finish the system-wide mapping exercise. So this is to fill the data gaps that we've identified. We've mapped the rest of the system, so I would say we're like, 90% mapped, but this 10% we can't see because of these blockages.
But if it were a tree or something, then then something else would have to, like if it's a tree root or something?
I have to see what the subcontractor's full suite of capabilities are. Some of the contractors have little rotary bits and they can grind through things like tree roots if that's the case. But we'll have to, it's one of those things, it's hard to anticipate what it might be. We sort of take it as we come once you get down and you can see what the problem is. It could be a collapsed pipe, it could be any number of things. If it's a collapsed pipe, we'll have to talk to Kyle and work with the highway department to make a repair.
Well, I mean, isn't that sort of like part of the point of doing the mapping, is like figuring out where there's areas that need to be repaired and fixed and all the rest of it?
Yeah, if we have imminent, if we know there's a failure though, that's like more of an emergency situation we want to get corrected.
That goes along with the mapping has already identified a dozen different catch basins that are going to need repair. Task order 46 does not do that. 46 is to do the mapping.
Right.
46A is to figure out where the additional mapping is so we know what comes in, what goes out, right? And then we have to figure out how we're going to fix this failing system.
This is to finish the analysis, essentially.
Right. And if there's an opportunity to do a minor repair while we're finishing the analysis, then we take advantage of that. I get that. Okay, and then the purpose, just to remind all of us, the purpose of this analysis is to know what has failed, know what we need to fix, but also, and most importantly, we can't get a grant without this kind of analysis first to help us with that, correct, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Right. This is existing conditions assessment so that you can start capital planning for improvements based on the condition. Yeah.
Okay.
We have to know what is before we can figure out what should be.
Right. Yeah. Nope. Makes sense to me.
All right. Any additional discussion? Anybody? I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now a task order near and dear to my heart. 047 ArcGIS online implementation. And again, Brandy, do you want to give us a quickie there?
Sure. So this is a task order to create the village's own full ArcGIS system that will become a digital resource available to the DPW. The village has, over the last few years, been working with what we would call like a GIS light system called Diamond GIS, and it's a great place to start. And it gave the water and sewer department an opportunity to collect some basic information. What this will do is it will create an ArcGIS account that is specific to the village of Rhinebeck. We work with the county to load in parcel data so that you've got that underlying aerial imagery and parcel information. We'll pull in the Diamond GIS information on sewer and water. We'll add in the drainage information that we've been collecting. And what we'll be able to do is start building out a really functional tool that will have conditions assessment information on all the village's infrastructure. This will also, let me just make sure, does this include an iPad? Did we discuss that?
I think it does.
Yes, so we would procure a tablet. So this is a tablet-based tool. But once you have ArcGIS, you can also put it on your phone. So DPW staff will have all the information on a particular piece of infrastructure available to them. What we find things like water service connections. So let's say there's a problem with a particular water service. The staff can go with their iPad or with their phone. They can pull up the information. They can see, oh yes, here's the map that shows exactly where this service connection is. Here's the last time there was a problem here. Here's where the water shutoff is. So they can have all that information. And they can amend in the field, like a repair was made on such and such a date. So you start to create this database of records that become available, and it takes information that resides oftentimes just in the heads of people who have longevity and puts it into a system that becomes accessible to anybody who's working for the village.
Wow. And so we could upload like all of our various GIS layers into this system?
Yes, yes. And so, you know, what we'll do is we'll train a couple of people. We have full-time GIS staff that do this for municipalities all over the Northeast. And you'll probably work with Sam. Sam is lovely. He sits down, he'll like run you through the whole system live. He'll show you how to edit the data. And then, you know, it's even great in terms of like village buildings. We can put in the building plans. We can create a digital archive of all the records for building plans so that they reside with the GIS. When you click on the asset, which say is Village Hall, you can open up the file, and among the things that'll be linked to the Village Hall are the plans that were scanned that show when the building was built in 1960, whatever. 8, 9, I can't remember, 59?
1912,
yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it becomes a really great way for the village to archive all their information as well.
And we have, well, first I'm just gonna make a motion, and then we'll have to take a second, like a motion to accept the task order.
Second.
Okay, now discussion. We've also been receiving when we have other contractors doing projects, they also create GIS files for us, which currently we can't use, right?
Yeah.
So we actually have existing GIS files, say for the water project out here, that were made for us, which we currently don't have any outlet for. And I'll just say that this is something that we've talked about on and off, sort of like the paycheck situation, for a long time, and it really is the next important
21st century.
Yeah, 21st century, onward to 21st century. It really is the next important like asset management for the village and our ability to have currency and familiarity with our infrastructure, what's going on, when it was fixed, when it wasn't fixed, how it broke, all that information, one place. It's something I know we feel like we've been overdue for a long time.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess my question is, right now it seems like the staff are handy with the Diamond tool. So that subscription goes away once all that information is migrated? Correct. Okay, so that's ending. And then they're going to be able to have some training so that they're capable with the new software.
And the difference is that the ArcGIS and the Diamond GIS. Diamond GIS is it's very basic. ArcGIS gives you much more capacity to add additional information and add plans and track maintenance records, and that is all maintained on the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional discussion, questions? Okay, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next item on the agenda are two related items, which is surplusing an existing dump truck that we have and purchasing a new dump truck with the sand and the plow. And I ask Kyle if you will just give the overall description of what's going on here.
Yeah, we just prior to me arriving, a truck was ordered in replacement of a fire. Our concern is
like an international truck, right?
Yes, a big truck.
Yeah.
The concern has been and proven that it's too big for our infrastructure here, and problems finding people qualified to drive the truck.
It requires a CDL.
Well, and it also has a wing, which there isn't many operators out there that are familiar with wings. So in conjunction with working with the mayor and the salesman to this truck, has advised us that now's the time, if you're looking to get rid of it, would be to start looking to get rid of it. Because to buy this truck here now, municipalities are waiting 3 years. So we know that there has been some verbal interest just by the word of mouth locally here. So what this will allow us to take this off the road, go to the bid site, we set the bid of the amount that we're going to,
Minimum bid
that we're going to accept on this truck, which then allows us not to use this truck anymore, but we still need a truck. So what then in conjunction we'd be doing is now buying a non-CDL truck, which is a 5500 with a 12'6" or 10'6" plow and a 2-yard sander in the back, which is equivalent to what we have now.
The one that we use for mulch when we're
With truck
planting
3 and mulch and
trees. Okay.
so which that truck capability, and it actually has a bigger cubic. We got 5-yard bed on it instead of the 2.5-yard bed.
Okay, wow.
So what this will do is, one, we don't have to be held to CDL drivers to be able to plow the streets, and it's more than sufficient on size for a 1-ton truck to maintain our streets that we operate. Sitting down with Karen, since obviously this is a rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
To get this going, we're looking for the board to approve that we would take $104,000 out of the capital street, and then we take the balance of $12,922.50 out of street paving.
What's the balance?
$12,922.50.
Correct.
Out of
Because
what?
Street
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 paving.
paving.
So the truck alone is $95,507.50, which is all within the state bid alignment. We had Chrissy verify everything, Karen with everything on that, as well as the sander and the plow, which is $23,415, which is also state bid. So this will allow us to act now, because what happens is if we are selling the truck and then all of a sudden a month later somebody says they want to buy a truck and we might not be able to get a truck now, then we're down a truck.
Right.
So obviously nobody's going to want to wait. Can you wait till spring when we're done
Right.
plowing to take the truck?
Right.
So that's why we're kind of doing this way.
Would the funds received for the international dump truck go into to replenish those capital funds?
Yes, so we would
Okay.
take the 104, or we would replace the 104 and the 12,922.50, which would probably be even more for what we're looking
Yeah.
we could get for this truck.
Yeah, the international truck is more valuable.
Correct.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I make a motion to do all of that.
Okay, well, we have it,
Separate the two.
we have two different items there. But just again, so the idea is here, we received an insurance settlement, we bought a truck, the truck's very large, we don't need a truck that big, we can downsize, we can monetize that truck, purchase a new truck, which would be less to run, less to purchase, does not require a CDL, allow us to right size our fleet and maybe even make a couple bucks in the process.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the goal of these two
Just
twin
chiming in from
motions.
the climate side of things, right sizing the truck is something that is very much small upon. And we don't need to be, burning even more fuel than we need to. So this is great.
Okay.
That's great.
What's the year of the international?
22.
So I'd like to make a motion to declare our 1922 International dump truck and its assorted attachments surplus. And I'd like to put that, surplusing that out to bid or one and the same?
You want it on the auction site?
Yeah, we're going to put it because we think we can get the most advertisement out of the auction site. Obviously, after tomorrow morning, I'll be on the phone with the dealer. He will be sending messages out as well that the truck will be
We have
available.
an account with GovDeals, which we can set that up. How long do you want it posted for?
I would say we'd start off for a month.
Okay,
And what do we want the minimum bid to
I was
be?
just gonna ask.
I'm just going to verify that. I'm scheduled after this was all approved. But do you need a vote on what the?
I think we have to have a
Well,
minimum bid.
let's
What do we
have
have
at least
minimum bid?
cover-
Not to exceed 185, but don't go under 175.
No.
No,
We
not-
we want to exceed 185.
Well,
Yeah, so-
no, I meant the opposite.
Yeah, so at least 175.
At least not minimum bid 175.
Correct.
Oh, wow, this is more than a few bucks that we would make off of this transaction. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
That's
so
nice.
are we clear what the motion is, guys? We're gonna surplus the truck,
Till
put it
what
on the
date?
action side.
You said a month?
Surplus the truck,
Do you want to make it so that we
put a
can-
bid out with a minimum of 175 and
Till November 22nd, that's a Friday.
We'll have a, sure, I mean, or when's our,
I just made
The
it.
26th?
well, when's, we have a second meeting in November?
on the 26th, so we can.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
yeah, November 22nd,
Oh,
which
very
is Friday.
22nd, okay. When's Thanksgiving?
Until
The
4
28th.
p.m.
Okay.
Oh,
November.
great.
Yay,
Yay, we have a meeting tonight.
Okay, so we have a motion, is everybody clear on what the motion is?
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Second, everybody's got a motion, okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, no, you're aye.
Yeah,
You're
that's
an aye,
that's an
right,
aye for
Gary?
Gary.
It was a delay.
A time delay aye,
Time
okay.
delay, yeah.
Gotcha, okay, no opposed, motion
Yeah,
carries.
verbals.
Okay, so now I would like to make a second motion to approve the purchase of, no, who's here?
2024 Dodge.
2024 Dodge Ram
5500.
5500 from Rugies based upon the state bid for a total of $95,507 and,
It's 93,000, because we get a rebate.
Oh, rebate, I'm sorry.
$93,507.50.
right, $93,507.50.
And all of this brouhaha over on this other
Do you
thing.
want to separate them, or do you want to?
Oh, I'm gonna separate them.
Oh, you want to separate, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the estimate from Trailer King for the accessories for this truck for a total of $23,415.00.
Second.
Any additional discussion?
You're gonna update our fleet inventory?
Yes.
Great.
All right, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Me.
Thank you.
Okay,
And then there's like a dump truck for.
Yep. Amy, thank you.
all right. Next item is, excuse me, I think, yeah, Brenda, I think we're done.
You're good with it?
I'm
Okay,
done.
great.
Thank you.
You want
Bye,
to
Brandy.
send me a message tomorrow where we'll meet?
Yeah.
Just send me out some dates.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you,
Bye,
Brandy.
Brandy. Thank you.
Good
Have a good
evening.
evening.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 8, to reopen the laborer and working supervisor positions. So far, we've received some applications, but we haven't had a chance to do the full suite of interviews, and we'd like to see if we can get some more applications. So I'd like to make a motion to reopen those positions until November 5th, to close on November 5th.
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, yeah. And with that date, hopefully at our 11-12 meeting, we can make an appointment should we have interviewed and acceptable candidates.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries. Okay. Number 9, fire contract approval. This is a contract that we've actually looked at before. It is, we sent it out to the town. They have now signed it. It's our turn to sign the contract. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract with, the fire contract with the town.
The 2025-2026.
25-5-26 contract.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries. Okay, next item is the SRO contract with the school district. And again, this is something that we looked at before. It's been negotiated with them. They've signed it. It's now returning for us. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve and sign the SRO contract with the Rhinebeck Central School District.
Second.
So is that August date correct, or was that the correct?
The numbers are correct, yeah.
That's for 20.
Just for 20,
Well, just say
Fire
August
contract is 24, no,
2024.
fire contract is 25, 26.
Okay. And the school is,
Hold on.
The school says August 2024.
I think it's 24 through 27.
It's a three-year contract.
So 24 through 27. I just realized you were still looking.
Yeah.
No.
Totally on top of things. Okay.
Pull up here.
24 to 27.
Thank you.
So effective August 24. These run on the school year? Is that what we're talking about, Gary? The SRO contract?
And
The SRO,
they don't really run on the school year, they really run on the time when the last contract was made, so it's a continuation. That's why it expired on August. It just took them a while to get it through their board, to get it approved. So that's why you're seeing it now in October.
okay, got it.
Okay.
They sat
No problem.
Gonna call for, we have a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Number 11, standard workday and reporting resolution. I had a discussion with Karen and Martina earlier about this. This form needs to be filled out and completed, so I'm just going to table that for now until they come back with the form all completed, and then we can see what we're actually working with. That'll take us to number 12, establishing a Parks Committee resolution. Eleanor, that's you.
All right, so I sent around the resolution, and I really appreciate the feedback I got. I don't know if there's any point in reading it, only because we don't have a big public here today.
Well, do you want to say what the point is? Do you want to give us a summary of what's there?
I can find it here. So basically, I looked up some different municipalities and checked out what kinds of, how they set up their parks committees. I also looked at the tree commission too for some guidance. And basically, we want to ensure that our green spaces are welcoming, accessible, and safe for both residents and visitors. And then we want to make sure that we involve different stakeholders in determining, the future of our parks. I think there's some space that we can work in terms of the Lions in the mini park, and Rick shared the work he started with the memorandum of agreement with, how the two of us should work together. And I don't know, Kyle, maybe we should get together on that too, and just, before we finalize that. Basically, I felt that the best way to do this was to actually have a committee that was, that we go through an interview process and go through the board so that we get a, good representation from the community. I do recommend that preference be given to village residents, but you can be a town resident. I also would like a member of the Lions Club to be on the committee, only because they play such an important role in that park, and then at least one member of the veterans community. And other than that, some various constituents from the community who would be interested. We can have up to 9 members, but I thought we should start with 6 first and see how that works out.
Okay.
So I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second, any additional discussion?
No. I mean, I had, just for the record, I had questions about, the Legion Park, but it turns out the American Legion doesn't actually have anything to do with that park anymore, so that's that.
Yes, it was, I was going through the minutes in the 50s, it was given to the village.
Right.
Stewardship.
But yeah, but given how many sort of veterans memorials we have, I think having a member of the Veterans Committee, or a member of the Veterans community is a good idea.
Which there is a Veterans Committee. We have yet to have a meeting, so that will be coming.
Have we staffed that out?
I have people who have volunteered for it, which is gonna be my next question. Are you just, since you have stipulations, are you opening this to people who wanna be a part of it, or are we treating it where they have to come in and present information to you and the board selects them?
It says in the resolution that the board would appoint them.
Right, what point is,
Yeah.
so what I'd like to do is I'd like to approve this resolution
And
and
then
then
separate.
open, and then open the, and then open the.
Okay.
Okay, so I make the resolution.
Well, first of all, we're voting on the, we've seconded, we have a second for the resolution
we
to,
did, okay.
to approve the committee.
I didn't know yet.
Yes, we got that, we got that. Okay, so I'm gonna call vote, any additional discussion? And call vote, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No, motion's carries.
Alright.
Now, I would like to make a motion to,
Post notice.
post notice that we are seeking, the village is seeking volunteers for the Parks Committee. And how long do you think we should hold it open?
Should we do the same thing, a month?
Sure.
So the 22nd?
Until November 22nd?
And then do we have an interview process? Is that what normally happens?
Well, so you can, and actually, if you wanted to vote on it at the 26th, then I would recommend closing your period earlier so that you have time to actually sit with these people.
Mhm. All right, I have a problem because the 26th I'm going to be in San Francisco for
Well,
Thanksgiving,
Let's,
so.
let's hold it open a little bit longer too. I'm sure people are gonna be busy over Thanksgiving too.
Yeah.
So could we go a little deeper?
We can hold it open until, well, I mean, we can hold it open until,
The December meeting?
yeah, I mean, well, this is really a question for you, like, how quickly would you like this staffed out? Like, would you like it staffed out starting in January, or?
Like, when do you want to appoint people? At what
Yeah.
meeting would you like to appoint them?
Well, let's do it at the first meeting in December then.
Okay, so that's December 10th. So that, are you available the week, the 2nd through the 6th to hold interviews?
Yes.
So then do you want to keep it open until we're closed, the 27th, or do you want to keep it the 27th?
Go to the 27th.
Yeah, 27.
So
That's the
can
Wednesday
you-
before Thanksgiving, so.
Somebody amend that?
I'll amend that to keep it open until the 27th. Someone else second that?
Second,
Thank you.
any additional discussion?
At 4 o'clock, right?
4 o'clock.
Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This is great.
Perfect.
I now need to figure out the comp plan implementation committee, because you've
Oh,
mentioned
yes.
this committee that you're gonna be working with. So,
That's why I'm not in a hurry to get this committee.
I'll get on that.
That's going to be a big part of it.
Okay. And our last, actually, we have, I don't have two, I'm sorry, I'm working off the old agenda.
No worries.
Sorry, my fault. Do you have the newest agenda?
The special
Standard,
request.
establishing parks, marriage proposal.
Marriage proposal, whoops. So we received, I hope you guys reviewed a special request.
That's totally now on my calendar.
Right, for a very special marriage proposal to take place here within the village. I don't want to give any of that away. You guys have a chance to review it?
Yes.
Are we,
It's adorable.
are we in favor of
They're making
approving?
it seem like they're famous or something. These are just.
Not, these are just regular people, regular folks, but
It's just
regular
really
folks
cute.
doing a lovely, two regular folks doing a lovely thing. It came as an event application, correct?
It came in as both because they weren't sure what they needed to do for it. It has been reviewed by the police department. The stipulations is that they can't block the sidewalk.
Right, which they,
There are things that they would like to post on the sidewalks, which if you guys agree to that, then
right. So I'd like to make, I saw it as an event application, I'd like to make a motion to approve the event application for this marriage proposal.
Second,
on what date?
November 7th.
If any, right, if anyone is opposed, let them speak now, right? Forever hold their peace. All in favor?
From 4:30 to 5 p.m.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I did. 100% agree there. Totally creeping
I don't know
on.
if it's open to them.
I was thinking, well,
I mean, they're doing it on the sidewalk.
Okay. And then our final, this came in quite late. There is a Get Out the Vote rally at the Lions Park with Congressman Ryan and I believe Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado slated to be in attendance. Martina, this came in literally over the transom. Can you just give us a little?
Late yesterday.
Late yesterday.
I don't know much about it, other than they want to utilize the space at the mini park this Friday.
Have they filled out an application?
They have filled out an application, it is online.
I'm pulling it up.
Do you guys want to take a moment to review?
It's the same one that was
Yeah,
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it.
Everybody's
Yeah, it's
good?
all good.
yeah, about 50 to 75 people. That's fine.
Okay.
That's what our parks are for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the event application.
Second.
Any additional discussion? You're early. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
October
opposed?
25th.
Who's second?
No, motion
Oh,
carries.
4 or 5.
All right, any additional business on my friends?
Can I ask a question? So as you all know, we're getting close to announcing that the compost program is going forward. Would you all like it if I gave like a presentation at our next board meeting? Kind of reviewing what this is and how it's gonna look?
Probably.
I think that would be useful for the public.
I do.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long minute.
You know,
I think that
that's
sounds like a
just
great
me.
idea.
Okay.
Any additional, any other board members, any additional comments? Anybody?
Oh, I've gotten a couple questions about the Spectrum contract, and so I'm gathering those up and I'll send you out the answers. If anybody else has additional questions about the Spectrum contract, please let me know so I can get all of those answers to you as soon as possible.
Okay. Superintendent,
Do we have any updates with Josette?
not
No,
that I'm
it
aware
hasn't-
of.
Hasn't even been presented.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing that the board
One
has to
thing.
be aware of.
The CCA process, did anyone RSVP for a conference
Not
with
that
us?
I know.
No? Okay.
If they were
All right,
supposed
so
to be
then
with me,
our
they
next
didn't.
deadline. So I'm just saying, like, maybe we don't need to schedule that meeting if no one RSVP'd to it.
Were they supposed to email me?
Yeah, it was on the RFP.
No one has done such a thing.
Okay.
Did we send out an email inviting people to our
It was part of the
It was posted as part of the
advertisement.
RFP.
Okay.
It's optional, it's not like required.
Right. We have potentially one respondent who's yet to
Yeah.
respond.
Right.
Okay.
I was just brought that up in case you wanted to like schedule that November 1st pre-proposal conference, but it sounds like we don't need to, so.
It was already listed as that being the date, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
So
just
we'll
pick a time
keep
for
it
us.
in case any, but
Just
no,
show
they
up.
haven't RSVP'd, but
Did we set a time of day?
So are you,
I can't remember.
so you're not getting a lot of responses?
There's only basically one qualified contractor in the state of New York at this time, and
For
the other,
CCA?
Yeah.
the other contractor, potential contractor has not been licensed yet by the Public Service Commission.
Yeah.
It's taking forever.
What?
All right, with that, my friends, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at
Second.
5:38 p.m. I have a second.
PM.
Second.
PM.
Any additional discussion?
5:30.
AM is.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Thank you, motion carries. Good evening.